You know, it was in the GPO this week. Apparently the Taoiseach's been getting extremely abusive and threatening phone calls over water charges, and we saw obviously what happened to the Taoiseach. Is that legitimate anger?
There is an awful lot of anger out there, and we do meet people who are saying that they genuinely cannot afford to pay any further, and this is just a step too far for them. There is absolutely no doubt about that. There are very genuine grievances and very genuine reasons why people just cannot afford water. I do believe in the right to peaceful protest, but it was very alarming listening to what both Senator Catherine Zapponi was saying and Joan Burton was saying yesterday, and it will be a pity if what happened yesterday takes from the essential issue of water and people's genuine concerns about trying to pay another bill on top of all the other ones. The minute the water issue came out, we were hearing about bonuses and consultancies, and at the same time ordinary people were ringing in, talking to me, saying, what's going to happen to me? I have this medical complaint, I have another medical complaint, I have adult children at home because they're unemployed or because they're in third level education. And all of those questions that concerned ordinary people, they weren't first on the agenda where they should have been at the very beginning.
Which is probably, Minister, the biggest question that arises out of this whole water charge controversy, this whole Irish water charge controversy from the very beginning. It's the competence thing. There's been flip-flopping, there's been contradictions, there's been dithering. It's gone on and annoyed the public so much. Doesn't this start to make you look as incompetent as the previous government?
And all of this will be resolved on Wednesday when these plans are announced.
Of course, Maureen O'Sullivan, you lost speaking time as a result of all of this. What did you make of all that this week?
Well, on the first level about missing out on the leader's question that I intended asking, which was a very serious issue for community organisations that are part of the Dublin Inner City Alliance. They're facing potential cuts of 38%. And these are the community groups who work with most disadvantaged families, with lone parents, with an area that is higher than the average unemployment rates, and where even though there has been a lot of progress in terms of educational attainment, progression to third level is very low.
So that was really important to you, and you didn't get a chance to talk about it because of what happened.
A commitment that the meeting promised by Minister Kelly would happen, and that the allocation model that he had promised also would be given. But I would have to say that when I had leaders' questions back in June and July for a while, there were outcomes from those. The relatives of 1916, for example, had been looking for a meeting with the Taoiseach. He committed to that in the Dáil, and he did it.
So are you cross with Sinn Féin?
Pardon? I'm cross with what happened. I think Mary Lou had a perfect right to say she was unhappy with the way her question was being addressed. There's no doubt about that. But that happens all the time. I mean, I was in the last Dáil since 2009, and there seems to be an art form on how not to answer questions. Now, I do think there's a need for reform in that, and for that to be part of what the Ceann Comhairle does. Instead of just only, I mean, he intervenes when there's a time issue, and he will intervene if names are being mentioned. But certainly on this aspect of answering questions, I do think it should be part of his role. But I did not agree that when a vote was taken on Thursday, that vote was disregarded and the Dáil came to an end.
Now, the Garda Inspectorate Report casts a cold eye over the workings of the Garda Síochána and finds it seriously wanting. Crime numbers understated, detection rates exaggerated, lack of training and expert detectives, poorly managed, bureaucratic and not centred on victims. The report makes more than 200 recommendations for change. There have been various turning points, Maureen, and they haven't actually, we don't seem to have turned that corner. So what is required this time to make it different, to avoid just same old?
Well, the people I feel most sorry for reading that report are victims who are denied justice because of shortcomings in the system. I think there are very clear-cut recommendations in it, so it's time now for action. The main thing, I think, for people is accountability. And I just give one example that Pascal and I in Dublin Central we see, which is the Community Policing Forum. And just one example, 2 weeks ago, the North Wall Forum, for example, the residents were there, they were all invited. Dublin City Council were there. The Chief Superintendent, Inspector, Sergeant and several community Gardaí were there. And that's a forum where residents bring the issues that they feel the Gardaí are falling down on. They bring their recommendations to them, and the Gardaí are accountable to the people at that meeting. So what I take from that is, and that's what people want to see. They want to see more community Gardaí, people on the street when they see them, and no amount of IT is going to cover that.
Maureen, given that I know you were a former teacher before your political life, the fact that the teachers are now talking about bringing in stoppages over their opposition to correcting their own students' work as part of junior cert reform, what's your reaction to that?
Well, if I was still teaching, I would be against having to correct the junior cert exams. And I can understand perfectly where teachers are coming from. But as an English and history teacher, I would have corrected, given homework, corrected. I would have kept an account of what each student got in all of that homework. And I do think there should be a way for that to be taken into account. It's work that's going on anyway. It wouldn't be additional work as such, but I do think it should take account, because we know that there will be some young people, and they go into that terminal exam, whether it's the junior cert or the leaving cert, and things won't go right for them. And it just seems a shame that the work that they have done during the previous year or two cannot be taken into account in some way. But I totally accept. I'm glad the Minister has come back on that it's now a state certificate again, because that was causing an awful lot of grief in schools.